2020, the year of a global pandemic and the year where international travel came to a complete standstill, where we all heard headlines about skies clearing up, wildlife returning, but also millions of jobs lost, poaching increasing, less budget for sustainability, sharp increase in single-use plastic items. Words like regenerative tourism emerged and slogans like Build Back Better, and a realization that humankind has gone too far in invading areas of wilderness impacting biodiversity. But will we as businesses, individuals, and destinations use this moment as a turning point to be more caring about our impact on ecosystems, protecting them, caring for them, and using the force for good of tourism to finance, manage, and advocate for ecosystems worldwide? For this, we need to continue to cherish and nurture our relationship with nature. Let's start with a simple exercise to reconnect with nature. As many of us continue to be restrained from traveling at the moment, I ask you to close your eyes and to think back to a moment on your travels that made you realize the beauty of our planet Earth, its species, and that we are just a tiny part in something much bigger. That the natural world is absolutely magical, and we are sometimes just too busy to see it. It might have been on your first dive, or when you encountered a wild animal, or witnessed a rare natural phenomenon, or you slept a night under the stars. Maybe it was on a camping trip in your hometown forest. It doesn't have to be exotic or far away, but a moment that you connected to nature and realized you can't really put a price tag on these experiences that make life worth living and have a long-lasting impact on you. Remember what you felt in that moment, how your senses were alive, the thrill and excitement, or just a feeling of content that you experienced. I'm sure most of us listening to this series of TEDx talks today have had the privilege of experiencing nature in its most beautiful forms in one way or the other on your trips. And I am sure we would agree that we would want our friends, our families, our children and their children to have similar experiences. At least it has been this way for me. Living on islands since the past years, I might have given up certain standards of European life I grew up in, yet in return I was rewarded with more raw and beautiful moments. Be it from bioluminescence in the ocean at night, watching sea turtles make their way to the ocean, or having a tiny pilot fish follow me all along a snorkel. But I have also had these moments in the heart of Europe when I least expected them. It's these moments, no matter how small, in my work and personal travels, that make me see the potential that tourism has in safeguarding these special places and flora and fauna. Like many of you, I suffer from eco-anxiety, but through the means of my work, I have had the privilege to meet many dedicated, passionate people in different corners of the world and see that there are examples out there where tourism can make a difference, where we can all make a difference. So I decided to continue to stay hopeful and positive, because when given the chance or with the right guidance, many businesses, many individuals, many communities will decide to do better and protect ecosystems for their children and the children of their children. Today I wish to make the case for ecotourism as a means not only to protect but restore and regenerate ecosystems and habitats, and directly provide livelihoods for communities and thereby educating visitors and locals. And I would like to emphasize that ecotourism is not just a simple fact of a tourism activity in nature, but refers to respectful tourism that directly supports conservation and local communities. The problem in the tourism industry right now is that true ecotourism only exists as little pockets of hope, but that there are few businesses and few destinations that follow a holistic approach that work together instead of against each other. Sadly, all too often, tourism is mismanaged and can have very detrimental effects on ecosystems. Especially in the context of small island states, we see issues of marine pollution, depletion of natural resources, destruction of habitats and especially coastal environments due to tourism infrastructure, short-term thinking with direct negative effects on flora and fauna, local communities and livelihoods. And many businesses are really lost in competitive thinking and do not see the importance of working together for the greater good of ecosystems. And of course, the elephant in the room with tourism contributing directly to climate change, which in turn is already heavily impacting many destinations around the world. On the other hand, you can find these rare gems that operate successful businesses entirely based on respect and care for nature and local communities. There are NGOs like Linking Tourism and Conservation, which have profiled these examples, where you can see that in all corners of the world we have positive change makers that you could utilize ecotourism as a means to finance, manage, and educate about conservation. In Seychelles, for example, there are private islands which through ecotourism raise funds for conducting scientific research, reintroduction and safeguarding of endemic species with a permanent team of biologists as part of their resort staff. Some of these resorts actively tackle their value chain, including local building material, growing their own organic food, bottling their own water, eliminating single-use plastics. There are certain forward-thinking small island destinations like Palau, which have remodeled their approach to tourism and where 8% of its GDP is directly related to responsible shark diving in Palau's marine sanctuaries. And I see this ecotourism magic happen on a small island off the coast of Zanzibar. As the first privately managed marine protected area in the world, since 25 years, this place finances the entire protection of a 55-hectare marine park and 16-hectare forest reserve with one of the highest species diversity and health in the region, entirely through a small 7-bungalow eco-lodge. 43 local staff, with on average 12 dependents, have all been with the project for many years. Importantly, tourism also finances an environmental education program for local school children, which brings 350 local kids in the water every year, who, although they are islanders, have never seen a coral reef or have never swum before. Seeing the transformation of a child that is scared to enter the water and half an hour later smiles from cheek to cheek and doesn't want to leave the ocean really gives hope. But also in the tourists who immerse in nature and after their stay are dedicated to making a difference. Sadly, many of these examples do not enjoy the visibility yet that they deserve, and their premise of quality over quantity is often of little interest for tourism investors and politicians who continue to measure success on the basis of arrivals and not in terms of biological diversity and protection of natural resources. And of course, the pandemic has shown that ecotourism examples need to strengthen their resilience and avoid over-dependency from tourism. So now we are standing at this crossroad, wanting to rebuild better, even though we have debates about over-tourism, carbon emissions, depletion of natural resources. My fear is that change is happening too slow and that the destructive part of the tourism industry will continue to overshadow the immense positive achievements that exist. When talking about ecosystems, we need to look at the whole picture and the reality, for example, in small island destinations and protected areas or areas of high ecological value. The truth is that in many cases, tourism is one of the only or the only sustainable economic alternative for communities reliant on this habitat. And it is easy for source markets to forget this. So we need to reduce our carbon emissions by traveling more wisely and by visiting these places that need tourism to safeguard biodiversity and to visit them in the best possible way, leaving our money where it really matters. Importantly, not sacrificing our holiday experience, because unfortunately it is still a common misconception that sustainability means less comfort or more expense. Imagine that on every one of your trips, you have these moments like we remembered in the beginning of the talk, moments of connecting with nature, with the beauty of our planet, learning something fascinating, meeting a passionate person who shows you a part of an ecosystem that you didn't even know existed. This is what ecotourism is all about. There are biological hotspots of universal importance to this planet, which actually, through the simple power of your dollar or euro spent, can protect flora and fauna for the next generation. It scares me tremendously that my child might not be able to see certain species in the wild, or might never show its children a healthy coral reef. And we can all feel pretty powerless. What might we be able to do so many kilometers away from these hotspots? Well, we need to strengthen those players out there who are fighting hard to make a difference. And we need to spread the word. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because I am convinced that it works. Nature has a power over us which is difficult to resist once you are truly confronted with it. Because it makes you feel small and puts you in your place, that there is more to life than a fancy car or a trendy pair of new shoes. Now, if we can direct our holiday choices towards more eco-friendly choices, as a collective, we have the power to change the offer. As hospitality businesses, we need to recognize the influence we have at destination level on policy making, on environmental regulations. If we join forces with other businesses and lobby for the right courses, which are ultimately also beneficial for our business. So my call is for us to build and support more holistic examples and create holiday experiences that benefit everyone. Because like always in life, we have a choice. Continue our lives or business as usual, or dedicate it to creating more pockets of hope in the world, which collectively can trigger change at a larger level. We can start on our individual holidays by opting for hospitality providers that care, or questioning those that do not care enough, using our purchasing power for the good. And it continues with the tourism businesses we work for and or manage, recognizing the important power we have and capacity to protect, restore, and regenerate ecosystems, which ultimately make our business more attractive, authentic, and successful in the long term, as nature truly is the main attraction in our travels.